Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. This is where we sift through all the material you send us, the articles, the notes, the research, and really pull out the core insights. And today, well, we're tackling a big one. Financial well-being, sure, but specifically that dream, maybe that elusive goal of becoming a millionaire. What does it actually take? Because, you see so much out there, all these guaranteed methods, but what really moves the needle?
It's everywhere, isn't it? And what's really stood out as we've gone through your sources is it's not just about the numbers, is it? Or chasing some hot new thing. It seems to be much more about a fundamental shift in thinking, often in ways you wouldn't expect, kind of counterintuitive. So yeah, our goal today is to cut through that noise, look at the strategies that actually seem to work, and give you some solid takeaways grounded in some pretty powerful ideas about wealth.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The sources seem to agree on the biggest single obstacle.
Hmm.
It's mindset. They literally say the number one reason people don't hit that million mark is this, like deep down belief that $1 million is just bigger than them.
Bigger than them.
Yeah, like this huge, impossible thing only other people get.
It's amazing how deep that runs, because we aren't born thinking money's hard to make, or easy for that matter. Those are learned ideas from family, experiences, the culture around us. One source puts it really well. We think we believe things because they're true, but actually, we often think things are true simply because we already believe them. See the difference?
Oh, okay. That's subtle, but yeah, big difference.
Right. And these limiting beliefs, they can become what are called strongholds, like mental walls we build to protect ourselves, but they're built around lies we believe. I'm bad with money, or rich people are greedy, or it takes money to make money, stuff like that. And these walls, ironically, fence us off from the very growth we say we want.
That's powerful. So, okay, if they're learned, can you unlearn them? The sources seem hopeful, suggesting almost like exposure therapy.
Exactly. Just consistently exposing yourself to bigger ideas. Hearing about people having $100,000 days or even $1 million days. It sounds maybe out there at first, but it starts to shift your perception of what's possible. The core idea is the more you truly grasp how much bigger you are, your potential, your capabilities, than that number, $1 million, the quicker you can actually achieve it. Your internal reality kind of recalibrates.
It's like making the impossible feel inevitable.
Sort of, yeah. And this ties directly into that idea you see often. Wealth building is like 80% mental game and only 20% strategy.
Right. I've heard that ratio.
And it's not just a catchy phrase. Think about it. Your mind is the engine. The strategy is the map. A brilliant map is useless if the engine's sputtering, right? So this means protecting your mental energy becomes absolutely crucial, ruthlessly. Avoiding the negativity, the news cycles, the comparison traps on social media. It frees up that mental power to focus.
And part of protecting that energy, it seems, is avoiding what one source called shiny object syndrome.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Constantly jumping from this idea to that opportunity, never sticking with one thing long enough to get real traction. It really highlights how critical that unwavering mindset, that commitment really is. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and challenge a common idea. Saving. Save your way to $1 million.
Well,
Saving's important, no doubt. But the math in these sources is kind of sobering. Say $500 a month, which is tough for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And it takes you 167 years to get to $1 million.
wow, 167 years.
Yeah. Even if you manage a really disciplined $2,000 a month, you're still looking at over 40 years. So this is just, the whole approach might be flawed for building wealth quickly, right?
It shows you might be playing the wrong game if saving is your main strategy for serious wealth accumulation in a reasonable time frame. It's not that saving or being frugal is bad, it's essential for financial health, but the focus of your primary energy needs to shift. Instead of hours spent finding small savings, that energy needs to go towards figuring out how to dramatically increase your income, asking bigger questions. What high-value skills can I learn? How can my money work harder for me? Can I turn what I know into a scalable business? It's about income generation, not just preservation.
Okay, now here's where it gets, well, frankly, it sounds totally backwards compared to what we usually hear. The sources talk about a millionaire fast-track principle, and it basically says it's easier to make a lot of money in a short time than a little money over a long time. And then even crazier, making 10 times more money is 10 times easier. I mean, that just feels wrong, doesn't it? It flies in the face of slow and steady. How does that work?
It absolutely challenges those strongholds we talked about, right? It feels uncomfortable. But the logic, as explained in the sources, is that once you truly internalize this, you make a decision, a conscious choice. You literally stop looking for hard ways to make a little bit of money. Full stop. Your entire focus shifts to finding easier ways to make a lot of money. Now, easy here doesn't mean no effort. It means leveraged effort. High impact for the input. It's a perspective shift. For someone thinking this way, an idea that might make $10 or even $50K a month might not even be worth discussing seriously. Not out of arrogance, but because their focus, their expectation is just on a completely different scale of possibility and return.
A different scale entirely. Okay, so you got the mindset shifting, you're focused on income. What are the actual building blocks? How do you execute?
Well,
the sources bring up the be, do, have framework.
Great, be, do, have.
And the emphasis isn't just on the doing or the having. It's really on the becoming. Becoming a more capable person, a better version of yourself. And that leads to doing better things, which leads to having better results. And the key insight seems to be spending time on that becoming part when nobody's watching, the internal work.
Exactly. It's the foundation. And this transformation, it's not random. It follows a sequence, according to these sources. Starts with awareness, actually seeing your blind spots, those limiting beliefs we talked about. Then intention, deciding consciously to act on that awareness, setting a direction. That leads to decision. And this is powerful. Deciding means cutting off other options. No more trying, just committing. And finally, discipline. Consistent, focused action that flows naturally from that solid decision. Put those four together. Awareness, intention, decision, discipline. And the sources argue that, well, transformation is basically inevitable. It's a clear path.
That commitment piece, the decision, it seems huge. One source mentions needing to say no to almost everything else when you're really going after a big goal. It highlights the difference between being just interested, doing what's easy or convenient, and being truly committed, where you do whatever it takes. You make sacrifices. They use an example like committing fully to one thing, say, building a YouTube channel, just really going all in for 3 months. The momentum you build from that singular focus can be incredible compared to dabbling in 5 things.
Absolutely. Deep work over shallow work. And building on that commitment, the sources really push learning high-value skills or leverage skills.
Yeah.
These aren't necessarily the skills you pick up just doing a standard corporate job, though some might overlap. These are skills that solve expensive problems for people or businesses, or skills that allow you to create value that scales easily. The suggestion is maybe learn one new key skill each quarter, like really master sales or persuasion, or dive deep into digital marketing, maybe basic coding or data analysis. And then crucially, you pair that new skill with what you already know. That combination often creates something unique and highly valuable.
Okay, so you're building skills, you're committed. Let's talk about the big jump. Starting a business. The sources argue pretty strongly for this over just climbing the job ladder. Why? Well, no salary caps, for one. The potential to scale is massive.
Huge difference.
And significant tax advantages that employees just don't usually get. They lay out about 6 steps, kind of logically. First, figure out your unique skills, your edge. Second, find a real problem you can solve and aim to solve it really well.
Better than anyone else, yeah.
Third, build a solid plan around that. Fourth, and this is the key, market it. Get attention. Attention is the oil of the 21st century, one source says. People need to know you exist.
Can't sell a secret.
Right. Fifth, nail your fulfillment. Deliver consistently high quality, even as you grow. And sixth, once it's working, then you scale it up. Replicate the success.
And just to give you a feel for what this looks like in terms of income streams, the sources kind of bucket them. You've got easy options, maybe under 3 months to get going, potential around, say, $20,000 to $25,000 a month. Things like short-form video editing for creators, writing social media scripts, building simple AI chatbots for local businesses, designing eye-catching thumbnails, UGC modeling that's user-generated content, or even high-value internships where you're learning and earning. Then there's a moderate tier. Maybe takes up to 8 months, aiming for closer to $100,000 a month. This could be running AI-powered content agencies, more advanced video editing with graphics, custom web design, becoming a LinkedIn growth expert using AI tools, sophisticated graphic design for brands.
And then the difficult bucket. This takes real time, maybe 2 to 3 years of focused effort, but the potential payoff is huge. $500,000 to even $1 million a month. We're talking about building a full-service marketing agency, a traditional tech startup that finds product-market fit, or building a really strong personal brand that commands high fees. What's really clear across all these, especially the higher tiers, is you're not just getting paid for hours worked. People pay for results, for solving their big, painful problems. That shift is fundamental.
Absolutely. Results, not just time. And alongside earning, intelligent investing is obviously key to actually building and keeping wealth. The S&P 500 comes up constantly, that broad market index fund. Historically, around 10% annual average return, it's seen as a solid, relatively safe long-term play. Retirement accounts are critical too, 401ks, IRAs, Roth versions. The tax advantages are huge, either saving you tax now or letting your money grow tax-free for retirement. That compounding effect over decades is massive. Real estate also gets highlighted. Why? Well, significant tax benefits like depreciation, plus the power of leverage using bank loans, essentially other people's money, to control larger assets and potentially get much higher returns on your actual cash invested. And for those comfortable with more volatility, some sources do mention established cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, looking at its performance history and potential as a store of value within a diversified approach. But obviously higher risk there.
Okay, so we've covered mindset, the income focus, the strategies, the investing. But it leads to a bigger, maybe more philosophical question. If becoming a millionaire is, well, achievable, if there are paths, what's the point? Is that really the ultimate goal? The sources seem to push back on that, saying pretty clearly that money is a byproduct, not the objective. So if money isn't the objective, what is?
That's where understanding your own why, your true north, becomes so important. The sources actually break down 4 different potential end goals for business owners, showing it's not a single path. Some are purely income-driven. They just want enough money to run their life comfortably, support their family. That's it. Totally valid. Others are identity-driven. The business is an expression of who they are, their values, their mission. Some are focused on financial freedom. They want to build assets, investments, maybe real estate that generate income so they don't have to actively work in the business forever. And then there are legacy-driven owners. They want to build something lasting, something that makes an impact beyond their own lifetime. The key takeaway here is that not everyone needs or wants to build something big in the conventional sense. That whole business equals huge scale idea, it's challenged. Each of these goals is perfectly legitimate.
That's helpful because there's so much pressure, isn't there? The noise of the world, as one source puts it. Pressure to chase vanity metrics, follower counts, likes, how much funding you raised, all for external validation. You see examples, maybe extreme ones, but people buying fancy cars just for the Instagram reveal video, or photoshopping themselves, places they weren't, trying to project this image of success.
Right. It's a very tempting trap, and it stands in stark contrast to listening to your inner voice, or what one source called the voice of your soul, your internal compass. The sources make a powerful point. Capability makes money for business owners, not money itself. The money follows, they argue, when your focus is truly on adding value, solving problems, making customers happy, not just on the dollar amount at the end. There's a real warning against getting caught in the quicksand of chasing fame, attention, significance just for their own sake. It often leads to feeling empty even if you achieve the external markers.
So it really brings it back to the long game, that idea that the journey is the destination, and being obsessed with the process, not the outcome. The thinking is, if you just consistently do the right things every day, the mindset work, the discipline action, creating value, then the million, or whatever your goal is, becomes, well, almost inevitable.
It becomes a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, exactly. When, not if.
And there's one final really interesting point for significant growth, especially when you're trying to reach higher levels. Sheer hard work, just grinding it out, menot, as some cultures call it, reaches a limit. Beyond that, it requires something different. Creative channeling, deep, focused thinking. And here's the insight. That kind of breakthrough thinking doesn't happen well when you're stressed, rushed, constantly putting out fires. It happens best when you're calm, rested, present. So ironically, cultivating stillness and dedicated quiet time becomes just as important, maybe even more important than constant hustle at a certain stage.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a huge amount of ground today on the deep dive. From tackling those deep-seated psychological blocks around money, to shifting towards an income-first strategy, laying out practical steps, strategic building blocks, and finally really digging into the deeper meaning, the why behind it all, divining your own purpose.
Absolutely. So maybe the question to leave you with as you think about all this is, what does true wealth actually look like for you? Forget the generic $1 million target for a second. What does it mean in your life, beyond just the numbers, beyond what other people think? And what pure intention, what deeper fuel is really going to power your journey towards that personal definition of success and ultimately fulfillment?